Hello and welcome to TCA Crossroads, the podcast where entrepreneurs and investors connect. My name is Costin Tukulescu, and I am your co-host, joined as usual by Mr. David Friedman. Hello, David. How are you today?
Oh, never had it so good. We're in the middle of the summer, and I see your, I love that shirt and the new mustache. Weren't you on a cruise or something, or taking it easy?
This is my cruise look. You know, when you go into Mexico for 7 days and you're cruising and going into Puerto Vallarta and Mazatlan, I gotta sport a little bit of a stash. So
Did you bring back tequila?
I didn't. I just consumed it all there. I just kind of did it on the spot. So yeah.
Yeah, but that's in the past. You're not tequila'd up right now, right?
Well, let's not get into too many details. Don't ask too many questions, okay? I'm always trying to find ways to keep the pod interesting. So let's see what happens.
Well, that's a great segue, because today I think we have a really interesting company and an interesting guest. This is one that was funded by TCA just recently. The company is called Limber, and we have Joshua Pelz, who's their founder and CEO.
And here he is. Let's bring him on.
Yeah,
hey, Josh, how are you? Welcome
Doing real
to the
well.
podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Costin. Good to see you again, David.
Yeah, it's always great to see you. And I see you have some of your uni legs. We'll get into what they really are in the background. But do me a favor, let's start. I want to talk about your journey in getting funding mostly today, and the challenges that you face. And then we'll finish by Costin summing up the key takeaways from this discussion. But tell us a little about yourself and how Limber started.
Sure. So I'm an engineer. That's my background. But I had the pleasure to, at UC San Diego, where I was doing my graduate work, I joined a class, Engineering Human Frontiers. The class is basically the intersection between human and societal issues and engineering multidisciplinary to solve those issues. We chose to create a more accessible solution regarding prosthetic care. And a few years later, here I am.
That's pretty cool. Now, tell us about, you have Limber now as the as your new startup, and it's a very disruptive type of a medical device in this industry. So tell us about the journey. How did you come up with Limber as a concept? And tell us about how you started, finding funding. I know you did something unusual and then you wound up getting additional funding, but I think the listeners want to find out that journey and learn from that.
Sure. Well, through that class, I actually met my two co-founders, Luca and Herb. Luca was a fellow graduate student, and Herb was a certified prosthetist and orthotist. He's actually been practicing in San Diego for about 35 years. He's also, for the last 25 years, run a philanthropic effort in Mexico, actually Ensenada, Mexico, where he's provided more than 1,000 limbs to needy people in that area.
Oh, wow.
When Luca and I went down, we got to see the problem firsthand. And that was really when our passion was ignited. And we saw, hey, there's a light bulb moment, and we think we can do something about this.
And how did you connect that to a economic opportunity? Obviously, because that's what investors are looking for. Big markets, big opportunities. How did you you just think, okay, we're going to just help some people, or did you think, okay, we can make a bunch of money here, or both?
Sure. Well, it really did start as a mission to help the tens of millions of people. Investors like to see that big TAM. Well, here we've got a massive TAM. We've got tens of millions of people around the globe that are in need of mobility and specifically prosthetic devices. It actually ended up being through joining the entrepreneurship ecosystem, going through several accelerator programs at UC San Diego, that we started piecing together some of the economic pieces, understanding the payer to end user sort of relationship in this specific industry.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, and back to David's question, let's talk about how you got into looking for funding. When did you know you needed some funding, and how much?
Sure. So through grad school, we were able to sort of scrape together nuts and bolts, work on the prototype, do some R&D. But as we transitioned out, we really knew that to scale this, we needed funding. You know, being a hard tech startup, there are certain challenges around the capital needed to set up manufacturing for medical devices, the regulatory aspects, the certification aspects. And so that was really when we started building a network of mentors and then eventually investors that could help us sort of actualize on that dream and start scaling and getting to the point where we could actually make that impact that we were passionate about from, you know, day one in Mexico.
Now, but you started to get funding through the San Diego Angel Conference, from what I remember. So tell us a little about how that came about, what you did, and what followed on from that initial thrust in funding.
Sure. Well, it's all about building networks. So we were introduced to the San Diego Angel Conference through networks and mentors we had built at UC San Diego through those accelerator programs. Getting into the San Diego Angel Conference, it was a multi-month process where we were really trained and we really leveled up how we interacted with our investors and how we were able to present our story in a way that they understood. Clearly, we had the passion, we knew what we wanted from an engineering and impact standpoint, but how do you understand that in an economic way? How do you make something sustainable so it doesn't die, right? We want to make a big impact, and you can't do that if you don't have a sustainable business model.
Did the members on your team have prior business and startup experience, or were you all mostly engineers?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Herb's founded, built, and sold multiple clinics. They've been acquired by some of the biggest players like Hanger. Luca was a serial entrepreneur actually before that. He had started several startups. He had gone through some of the MBA programs actually at Rady at UC San Diego. I'm a first-time entrepreneur, but I am loving every second, every hair-pulling second of learning, and I'm really finding passion when it comes to pulling together the pieces, building the team, putting something together to build something from nothing.
I want to cover the challenges and opportunities, but I wanted to also continue the thrust about funding. What happened after San Diego Angel Conference? Where did you look for funding? How did you find those funding resources?
Sure. Well, the amazing thing about a thing like the San Diego Angel Conference is it's more than 100 investors. And of course, they're going to be linked up with funds, right, in the local ecosystem. So we were linked up with funds like TCA Orange County, New Fund, where there were literally members that joined SDAC that were also a part of these funds. Really just solid network building, showing genuine interest and passion. One of the things that I was taught actually early on was you always need to understand the investment thesis of your investor. And that's something I really try to understand, because if you can connect with the investor and you can understand what they're interested in, as well as providing that, sustainable, convincing, economic plan, you have to have a solid plan for your business, but you also have to connect with that investor. And I think that's a big part of how we've been able to succeed is we show genuine interest.
So when I just want to follow on now, you went from the San Diego Angel Conference and then you went to TCA. So TCA investors were at that conference, or did you know TCA from another point of view? And how was that funding experience with TCA? Obviously, I'm biased because I'm part of TCA, but tell me about that experience, good, bad, or indifferent.
Give it to us straight.
Yeah, no. So actually, through the San Diego Angel Conference and our success there, we were linked up with actually someone named Laura at the SB or SDBC, I believe.
SBDC, yeah.
Laura Beacon.
Yes, and actually, we were fortunate enough to connect with actually David himself and some others as we went through a process to prepare for something called Medical Mondays, an intersection between startups, actual hospitals, and surgeons and doctors and investors. And so that's where we were introduced to David. Actually, David even had a hand early on in helping us, fine tune our pitch.
I may need a leg up on you, somewhere. That was a bad one, but I got it.
Exactly. So David's had the inside scoop for a couple months now, and real thankful for him, to help us get to where we are, because it is really a collaborative effort between the co-founders and the mentors and actually the investors to have success. You have to work with your investors it's not a battle. It's actually a collaborative sort of partnership, you could say.
What, was it an easy experience? Seriously, at TCA, did you? I mean, I know it was a tough experience.
Rated on scale of 1 to 10. 10 being easy as pie. 1 being I don't know.
It wasn't a 10. I can
No,
guarantee
it wasn't a 10. It wasn't quite a 10. I'd probably put it somewhere between 5 and 7. I think that there's a perception, right, that you're going to go and people are going to boo you off the stage. But I think at the end of the day, if you can show a genuine interest, successful investors, I truly believe, are good judges of character. They have to be. They have to be able to read the team. And so, I came in with what I hope showed a genuine interest in the company and the impact and what we were doing and the product and what the product could do. And in that sense, I actually think we had a reasonably pleasant experience from all the groups, including TCA Orange County. And it was more, like I said, a partnership, less so a battle.
Okay. So I'm gonna just fire away a bunch of questions. We're trying to keep this episode to about 15 minutes. We're shortening up the format a little bit. So we're just gonna go rapid fire here, quick answers. Okay.
Perfect.
How much did you raise?
Sure. So right now we've closed 1.2 million and we've got another couple 100,000 soft circled.
Okay. And what were the terms on the fundraise?
Sure. So we've got a 6% interest rate, 20% discount, and a $7.5 million value cap.
On a convertible
raising on a convertible note.
Convertible note. Okay. So not a safe, and we'll say TCA doesn't like safes that much, so you went convertible note.
Safes are Bay Area.
Yeah.
Here we're looking at convertible notes here in the Southern California, San Diego ecosystem.
And how did you come to those terms? Did you work with the investors closely to come to something agreeable?
Yeah, so actually it was a joint effort between working with UC San Diego. I'm actually very proud to report we have a historical first investment of $250,000 coming out of UC San Diego, the first startup they've ever invested in. So that industry backing obviously helped this whole process, but also the San Diego Angel Conference. Part of what they do outside of the money is they train you. So actually they took us through the evaluation process. They showed us how to look at forward revenue multiples of similar companies in the industry. That's how we actually came out with our value, in combination with wanting to make it something enticing for the investor, right? You can't shoot too high, but you also don't want to shoot too low. So it's a balancing act.
Excellent advice there. And with just a couple of minutes left here for us, if you could talk to yourself 2 years ago,
if only,
what advice would you give 2 years younger Josh on things you could have maybe done a little bit better?
Sure. I think starting off and they always say, kind of hire slow, fire fast. I think starting off really focused on making sure we had the right group and building actually, even a bigger team. That might sound different, but not sort of being so slow to bring people on. I think we could have actually accelerated our growth even more because, it's hard trusting people, bringing them into something you're building. But I do think there's so many excellent mentors out there that while you do have to be, strict with it and you have to stick to your values, I do think that, building that team even faster and bringing in more support, it's always better.
So
I just want
don't hire slow, real quick. Don't hire slow, fire fast. Hire fast, fire fast.
There you go.
But I also want to remind you that TCA, with its basically 400 accredited investors, have a lot of skill sets. I would hope that you just don't look at us as money people, but you look at us as a resource to help your company grow. So tap into the angel groups. And this goes for any entrepreneur listening. Tap into your angel groups. Look at it as smart money, because we have a vested interest now. We put a lot of money in to Limber. We want you to be successful and grow worldwide, and we think it's a great opportunity. So, obviously, we're committed to helping you.
I couldn't agree more.
And with that, we're going to wrap up the episode. Josh, welcome to the TCA portfolio family.
Thank you.
Sounds like you got David on your team, and you got a lot of smart, capable people here to help you. And we wish you great success.
Thank you, Costin. Thank you, David. Really appreciate you having me.
Best
Awesome.
wishes. Thank you. Thanks for doing this. We really appreciate it, and best of luck to you and your team.
Thank you. I
And for
appreciate
you
that.
viewers out there, listeners out there in podcast land, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, keep tuning into TCA Crossroads for meeting great entrepreneurs, meeting great investors, getting all the tips and information you need to grow and scale your business and grow and scale your investment portfolio. Thank you. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.